Happy Saturday, everybody. It is the Wise Guys Sports Show here live on the Wise Guys YouTube channel. I am one of your hosts. I am the Big Rican on Sports, Mike Martinez, and I bring in my co-host, the ever immortal JC Blue Note, Mr. Jim Cornetti. And James, first things first, happy Saturday to you, sir.
Happy Saturday, Michael. How you doing?
I am wonderful. Although I got to tell you, cut the back of my head shaving it last weekend. Haven't shaved since. I'm fuzzier than all get out. Thank God it's not an HD camera.
Worst feeling in the world is cutting yourself shaving, especially since I use one of those old-time safety razors, so it lasts for days.
Well, it's the back of my head, so if something felt funny, I went back there and went, oh, that's not good.
No.
But thank God it's the back of my head, although my wife said I grew a third eyeball back there because of it, so, one of those things. And tonight, Jim, we have a first-time guest on the show this evening, James.
Very much so. An excellent poll by you, Mr. Martinez.
Listen, Twitter's a wonderful thing when that idiot who runs it isn't getting involved, isn't it?
It's got its moments.
Well, I'm going to let you introduce him since you guys are the actual journalists in this thing. I'm just kind of the guy who likes to look good on camera. I'm kidding. I don't look good on camera.
Ladies and gentlemen, he's runs the Cleveland Sports Report. He's an actor, musician. Welcome to the Wise Guys for the first time, Mr. Patrick McGuire. Patrick, how you doing tonight?
Oh, great, guys. I'm excited to talk some Cavs and set some of these Browns Twitter guys straight who are mouthing off about a little too much about the Cavs, about stuff they don't know anything about.
We're playing that game tonight? Okay, I'm down.
Oh, boy. Oh, man. Give me a break.
15 seconds in, he fits right in.
Yes, he does. Before we get to the Cavs, let's start with the sad stuff that came out yesterday.
Yes.
As Cleveland icon, Jim Brown has passed away. And anybody who's watching and who reads our stuff separately, whether it's Big Rican, whether it's Patrick stuff, or especially my old friend here of nearly 30 years, the article Jim wrote today to discuss the passing of Jim Brown is a must read. Truth be told, I just read it as I was putting Bobby to sleep. No, that did not put Bobby to sleep. That's not where I was going with that. But it's
traffic. I'll take it.
You're as bad as I am. I will say this. I have read the majority of your stuff. This was a phenomenal read. I look forward to the video commentary afterwards. And as you two are the native Clevelanders in the bunch, Patrick, we'll start with you since you are the new guy. Any stories that parents told you about Jim Brown back in the day?
Oh, my gosh. My dad could never, with the new Browns, he always says, these aren't the real Browns. He would tell me that over and over and over again, that this is not the Browns that I know. And it's the only Browns that I know. And he would never, he could never stop talking about how Jim Brown was the best ever. Period. Probably the best football player he's seen even till now. And mainly just that he was indestructible and that he'd easily have 4 or 5 guys on him. I think actually one specific thing that he said was how one of Jim Brown's classic things was pretending he was tired after the play and pretending that he was worn down and, like sulking over to the huddle and then coming right back out and running over everybody. That was one of his big stories about that. And I did read that in an article and I was like, well, I guess that's true.
My first experience with Jim Brown, Jim, and then I'll go to you. Having lived in upstate New York for a good chunk of my life, Syracuse football, from what I understand, has been 4 times in the world. There's the Now, which is, it gets a big win here and there. It doesn't really do much. There was Donovan McNabb. There was Ernie Davis, and there was Jim Brown. And outside of that, Syracuse football has been nothing. To imagine what that backfield would have been like with Ernie Davis and Jim Brown would have been, would have been insanity. but I reflect on why he retired. And basically, since we're on our page, Jim, I'll say this. Man, Art Modell started fucking Cleveland long before he left, man.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I think I referred to him as Judas in the article earlier tonight.
It's about right.
That actually made me chuckle when you put it that way. So, and from, one guy who went from upstate New York to another, Jim Brown will be sorely missed at Browns games this year. Not that I will be watching, but
I think this is. I have a real distinct feeling, and I'm not gonna go word for word with what I wrote tonight. But 12 still ranks 11th on the all time list. 1863 back in 1965 still ranks 13th on the all time list for single season. And ironically enough, that was his last season in the NFL. 8-time All Pro, 3-time MVP. 8-time Pro Bowler. His controversies aside and everything, he's got a statue outside one of the gates. And I honestly feel we saw what happened with the Celtics this year after Bill Russell passed away last July, that the NBA now has the 6 patch on the left breast of all teams throughout the year. And as you've seen, especially with the playoffs, the 6 kind of silhouetted in the key where he made his living at the TD North Garden, former Boston Garden and everything. I could see a scenario where this year we see Jim Brown Field at Cleveland Browns Stadium going forward. I think that would be the right thing to do.
it absolutely would be the right thing to do. I don't know if this regime gets it enough to do it.
At least this regime brought him back in the fold after he was non-existent with the Modell-owned franchise and was largely disparate under and Patrick, you can attest to this being a Clevelander, that where was he during the Randy Lerner phase? Oh yeah, that's right. He was ostracized because of that ownership group.
Right. Well, the learners, I mean, it's they didn't get it either, so not surprising.
Well, wasn't it Lerner's plane that Modell hopped on to leave Cleveland in a huff when he went to Baltimore?
The fathers, yeah, but also remember that even though he had one of the most marketable franchises in the NFL and was coming back, he the kid after Al died put a lot more stake into a soccer team overseas that was middle of the road than than his football team.
Yeah, the son Randy, Lerner. Yeah, he liked the soccer team, was really into it, and I think ultimately, like, that led to Mike Holmgren, where it was like Randy wanted somebody who could just take care of the team and him not have to worry about it at all. And I think that doesn't work. The owner has to have some investment in the team he owns.
Yeah, and in the meantime, I'm still waiting on my callback for playoff tickets from the Walrus.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. You know what was weird? I thought the weirdest thing he did, and I honestly, personally, I like Eric Mangini. I wanted to keep him. Like, I liked him at the time. And I liked Rob Ryan, too. Like, I liked the staff he had. We had Dable, too, as the offensive coordinator.
Right.
Dable's really successful now. But I was very surprised that Holmgren kept him because they have nothing in common. And that was really weird when Holmgren had a chance to put his stamp on the team and he kept Mangini. And then it's like, well, what does he have to do for you to keep him again? Be perfect? Win 12 games all of a sudden? You knew he was going to get fired. So it was a waste of time. Holmgren screwed everything up.
The correlation, and then we can actually move off the Browns, thankfully, here, is that I'm getting a lot of those vibes with this current regime, because what was the Mangini regime notable for? Dumping draft picks. They didn't pick until the 3rd round a couple of weeks ago. They still don't have a 1st round pick, or I want to say a 1st or a 3rd next year. So
I think that's right.
So it's coming full circle with the fact that this team doesn't have any cap room to improve through the draft. And there's some deep drafts coming out.
Well, and I point out too that what a lot of people miss is that last season, a lot of people were saying that we punted on the year. And I think that some of us knew, okay, they're not really going for it if they're sticking with Brissett. Then he turned out to be a highlight. But what people don't realize is that Deshaun Watson's contract told last year. So they lost a year of control of him for nothing, virtually, because by the time he was playing, those games are basically exhibition games. And I actually wrote this in one of my articles. I wrote that I did this math. Basically, because he was suspended 11 games, if you go by game, Watson still gets paid more than Lamar Jackson, about $50,000 more per game.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's insane.
And that's even if you don't, if you only take the 11 games out. If you could also take the other 6 out, because again, they didn't really count. We were already out of it. So that's one of the biggest problems with the move. They put so much capital and assets into it, and they already lost a year of him. So I kept saying that. I was like, football is not like baseball. It's not like the NBA even. You can't just totally tank. There are consequences to losing. It's a physical, violent game, and people, they're putting their lives on the line. They're trying to earn contracts. It creates resentment. A lot of people were saying that it was a punt, and I'm like, I think last year was very costly.
Go ahead, Mike.
It's like he reads my mind. Although we'll have you on and we'll discuss that team in more depth, because Jim and I what do we have, 2 or 3 shows where we just went in on the absolute stupidity that is that move, considering it just turned into CJ Stroud and Will Anderson for the Houston Texans. But moving off the mistake by the lake.
One more thing before let me pose the question here, since it's Patrick's first time with us, and I posed this to you in the past.
Okay,
Patrick, if you were a betting man right now with everything that's gone on, is he here throughout the rest of this contract? Does this blow up in 3 years? Considering with them going out and getting Jim Schwartz, Mike and I are kind of in agreement. It's almost like now they have their heir apparent head coach. If this thing bombs in the first 6 games under Stefanski, is Deshaun Watson, as we like to call him, Deshaun Cosby on this show, for obvious reasons.
Right.
Is this maybe a 2 or 3 year project, and then they blow this thing up and he's out of here?
It is so hard to say. I will say I like Stefanski overall as an offensive mind. I think he's a decent offensive coach. I question whether he's a head coach. I do think that this year is make or break for him. They have to make the playoffs, or I think that he'll be gone. I think Andrew Berry's probably safe. But as far as Watson goes, it has been a long time since he's played at the level we're paying him for. 2020 is basically what we want him to be, overall. And assuming that he's just going to be at that level is wishful thinking, I think. But he is a talented player. He's extremely talented. I don't know, because you have to factor in he has a guaranteed contract. So, first of all, I mean, how much do you still really push to be the best? If you have a guaranteed $230 million, I think there's a question of how that will play out. I think it's a question too. He's used to being adored, and how will he mentally be able to deal with the fact that he's not anymore? I could see it blowing up. It's hard to imagine him being here 4 years from now. That's hard to imagine, but we're going to find out this year. I think we're going to learn a lot.
Michael had his hand raised a moment ago. You shook your head on something.
I shook my head on when you said we wanted to be a 2020. not for nothing, his team was 4-12. So do you want flashy stats or you want to win? And my whole thing
I will
is,
say I had him in. Go ahead.
I would say my whole thing is the guy that ran out of town took a team that was 132-1 within 2 seasons in the playoffs. And really, as I've said before on this show, and I think you've probably said it too, they are a horrible, horrible call from going to Orchard Park and I think beating the Buffalo Bills and going to a Super Bowl.
Yes.
So
yeah,
you ran the winner out
understand.
for the guy with the flashy numbers.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, see, some people will say QBs aren't a win stat, or wins aren't a QB stat. And I understand that to a point. I think that's true, to a point. But wins do matter. They do matter. So, I like Baker. I'm a big Baker fan. I mean, I'm following him wherever he goes. I'll definitely follow the Bucs this year because of that. I don't understand how, if you're a Browns fan, how you can't have a positive attachment to him. He was the best. I mean, he was part of the best team they've been since they've come back.
As a Rams fan, I'm more pissed off that we let him go after he played well down the stretch for us.
And Patrick,
I believe that. Go ahead.
That's actually the perfect segue into what we're going to talk about the rest of the time we're going to have you here is at the Cavaliers. And I have said this on this show before. I think since 2016, the Cleveland fan base has felt like, to me, the most entitled fan base in all of sport. LeBron made the big comeback. The Browns got good. And now all of a sudden you have to be everything that the media says you are. I mean, think about the run that city had, Jim. And I'm going to put it this way, and I'm going to encapsulate Columbus with this too, because the majority of Clevelanders are Ohio State fans. Starting in 2014, LeBron comes back in the summer. Ohio State has that magical run, wins a national title in January of 15. You have the emergence of the young stars with the then Indians, now Guardians. You have the first finals with LeBron. You have another good season out of Columbus. You have a World Series run with the Indians, now Guardians. Remember, on the same night, the Cavs get their rings from 2016, and it was game 1 of the World Series.
And we also had the Calder Cup championship, and then a couple of months earlier, we had Stipe's win.
Stipe wins the belt. It seems like to me, from June 19th, 2016 on, and I'm a Cleveland fan. It's still, my wife and I are talking about it today. I have been blessed to have 3 homes in my life. First one's wherever she is, and yes, that's the sappy answer I give. Upstate New York and Northeast Ohio got in my blood, and it is still there. The only New York team I root for is the Mets.
Shut up.
But it seems to me that this fan base just seems entitled. And the fact that they ran a guy out of town in Baker Mayfield, who quite honestly played that whole season injured and, in my opinion, was set up to be the fall guy.
I was going to say that. I agree.
And I still apologize because I was at the game that he got hurt. So you can put that on me.
Yeah.
Anthony Schwartz is why he got hurt.
That was Anthony Schwartz. Yeah.
I blame you for nothing, sir, except some anxiety. But that's not the point.
Asshole.
So let's talk about those Cleveland Cavaliers, as the hat I have on is from the 2018 finals.
Yeah.
I think I'm in the minority here. I'm not a LeBron Cavaliers fan. I picked up the Cavaliers when my co-host came up to me in college and said, "Yo, your boys just traded Patrick Ewing."
Oh.
So we're talking the Sean Kemp, Bobby Sura, Brevin Knight Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yep. That's when I started.
So
I was 10
years
old.
children.
Exactly. Well, it could be worse. I was a Jet fan when they had Cromartie.
What, the now arrested or is he in prison yet, Sean Kemp?
If not paying child support's a felony, then yeah, he's been in prison a while.
I thought he got picked up for something not long ago.
I think you're right.
He's going to search this.
Yeah, you're gonna have to because I don't know. I don't
2
know. I
weeks
heard.
ago, Sean
I
Kemp,
know he has a
he pleaded
he has a
not
lot of
guilty to an
kids.
assault charge at a shooting
Well,
range.
He caught an assault charge at a shooting range.
Yep,
start throwing hands at the gun range.
I believe so.
I
Wow.
applaud him for his resistance. Then
Prosecutors accused him of shooting a man while attempting to retrieve a stolen cell phone.
so he did shoot somebody.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh my God.
You were supposed to make it rain
I shouldn't
buckets,
laugh.
Rain Man, not rain bullets.
He did, except again, he was the patron saint of illegitimate children. He made it rain something.
Yep.
But can we really call him that anymore? There is someone named Nick Cannon in the world
Who ripped the title away from Sean Kemp, but
who ripped it away from Antonio Cromartie.
right. But anyway, we digress.
Yeah, exactly. So I want to ask you this question, and Jim doesn't.
Yeah.
Jim's probably not going to agree with this. Why not just run it back with the Cavs? Why not just run it back?
Well, I would say, I don't think you sound completely crazy. I think it's the reason things were getting really exciting is that this core, we have this core 4, and the belief was basically, maybe with the exception of Donovan Mitchell, that none of them have hit their prime yet, and that it should start out good, and then but the future is bright, that it should keep getting better. I think that some people are put off because last year, last year they were a surprise. They're predicted to win like 27 games, and I think they won 44. And that was only because of injuries. And it wasn't just Jared Allen. There were a lot of injuries toward the end of the season. They were on pace to win 50 the year before. But I think that a lot of people were put off by the failure in the play-in. And I think now with this playoff disappointment, you do got to take a second and look at JB because he's 1-6 now in postseason games with the Cavs. Not sure what his record was otherwise, but it's not good. So first, I think like that's what you see a lot of is people calling for JB's head. But you do have a couple vehicles to improve the team without moving any of the core 4, and that is what I'm in favor of. A lot of people, again, are emotional about that series, and it was a very, very frustrating series to watch. Jared Allen was, soft, and could he have put out a more embarrassing quote than "the lights were too bright"? I mean, come on, man. At least don't say that. He just wasn't ready, and that's surprising because he's been in the playoffs and he's older than some of the other guys. I mean, he's going to be 25. So as far as not running it back, I mean, the team definitely has a couple needs.
I agree with needs. I'm talking about not making any gigantic, like the Donovan Mitchell trade was humongous. I'm talking about don't blow it up. And as far as JB goes, I said this on another show, and Jim, I want to go to you next with this one. I said coaches can draw up whatever they want. The players have to execute. And if you ask me, that entire series, the only thing you can put on Bickerstaff was his horrible rotations. Why would you not let the guy you let Kevin Love walk for play more? Oh, by the way, I think Miami's going to sweep Boston out of the playoffs.
It's looking like it. And Denver, last I saw, was already up big on LA tonight.
We're probably on a train toward a Denver-Miami finals.
I was talking with my dad earlier today on the way to my niece's house for her birthday. That's going to be one hell of a series if it happens. You got the reigning MVP against. Jimmy Butler woke up.
Yeah, no, playoff Jimmy Butler is a scary entity. So Jim, let me ask you this: you and I have disagreed. I don't think Donovan Mitchell's going to leave. I don't. I think with the Sixers are going to blow it up. I think the Knicks are going to make a huge play for Embiid this summer, and that's where they're going to spend their money. Obviously, the front court is where this team needs attention. And no, Draymond Green is not a fucking option. We are not bringing fat Bobby Brown into Cleveland. Not doing it.
No.
Sorry. I can't stand. He looks like Donkey from Shrek. I cannot stand that man.
I know. Yeah, he does.
So, Jim, obviously, front line is the thing. You and I talked about this. Is front line help putting 20 pounds of muscle on Evan Mobley or on Jared Allen? Or is this going out and getting someone you can spell them with?
I think it's certainly a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. Evan Mobley is 6'10", 213 pounds. I'm sorry, you can't be a 4 in this league with that frame. This is why I figure that everyone says, especially about Wembanyama, he's 7'5", and he weighs the same as what Mobley is right now, even though he's 19 years old. And people say he's going to be a phenom because he's going to be coached by Popovich. Oh, yeah. Greg Popovich is 74 years old, and there's nothing in the cupboard in San Antonio right now. So he's a 2 to 3 year project at least. Evan Mobley was originally thought to be a 2 to 3 year project, I thought, and then he's a finalist for Defensive Player of the Year. If Evan Mobley is 20 pounds heavier, the Cavs, first of all, are still playing right now. And secondly, he wins Defensive Player of the Year to be able to bang, especially with guys like Embiid, Horford. You've got to be able to have that size to compete, especially in the East. Even though a lot of the big name bigs are in the West, all the bangers are in the East.
Patrick, let me ask you this one. Do you move him to the 3?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
No, I don't think so. He has a lot to work on as far as his handle and his outside shooting, and I think those things will come. I think long term, we're probably looking at him going to the 5 eventually. But right now, it's like I don't think Mobley can't put 20 pounds on in an off season. That's not his frame.
Okay, maybe 10.
It's gonna take it's gonna take time. And I think that, more realistically, he's putting 6 to 7 pounds on in off season and slowly getting there. I think Jared Allen is more at an age where if he wants to put on some weight, he can. And in fact, somebody did point out that he looked a bit thinner than he did his last season.
Yes.
He did look like he was a little bit lighter. But I still think that too big system has worked. I mean, it's unusual, but zigging while the rest of the league zags has worked for the Cavs. We had the number 7 offense, the number 1 defense, and Jared Allen and Mobley's size and length is a big part of that.
It reminds me of, and it's because of the too big system. I'm not saying these two guys are going to be this. But we just brought up San Antonio. This reminds me of the Tim Duncan draft, where you had Duncan at the 4 and you had the Admiral at the 5. The body types seem roughly the same at that point in time, where Duncan and Mobley are somewhat similar. But David Robertson used to, get the piss beat out of him by Shaq all the time. So he was a little thicker. As far as the Jared Allen quote, he may have been in the playoffs. Dude didn't play. He wasn't in that rotation. Right. That was DeAndre Jordan in the 5. That was all the veterans played. That's why they thought they could just get rid of him when the 3-team trade that landed Harden in Brooklyn.
Good point. Yeah.
In Brooklyn got him there. But since you are the Cavs aficionado, I want to ask you this one other question before I go to our colleague up in the top corner here. Do you think that trade is going to come back to bite them? Not with Mitchell leaving, but with the other things they gave up. Like Jim was a big Lauri Markkanen guy, as was I, when he was getting better. And we referenced the year before when they were that good and Colin Sexton played a game and a half?
3 games.
3 games. Do you think that trade comes back to bite them long term?
I don't think so, but we don't know. First of all, I'm a huge Donovan Mitchell guy. I don't think that people understand how good he is. I say that because I think that people are like you when you mentioned being entitled. I don't know about entitled in this regard, but spoiled from LeBron. Where it's like I hear people say that Donovan Mitchell is just an all-star. Like in my opinion, he is a bona fide superstar. He just had a career year with us. That's the thing is this was his best season too. So we know he's getting better. Um, the playoffs were disappointing, but I think that the thing is when you trade for a superstar like that, it is going to leave the cupboard bare for a little bit. You have to have, it makes sense that we didn't have depth this year. And at the trade deadline, Kobe said, when he didn't go through with doing anything, there were a couple things uh, in the works. Like I think, Josh Hart was somebody they were pursuing, Royce O'Neal too. But eventually they decided not to do anything. They did not move Kevin Love. They just let him go. And I think that, again, is probably lack of interest. But he had a good point where he said, like these guys, when he said, okay, the young core needs to get postseason experience, I agree with that. But I think there's a second motive behind that, and that's that the playoffs expose who you are. And as painful as that was, we learned a lot. We learned a lot about why what worked in the regular season is not necessarily going to work in the postseason. And I think that Kobe's doing the right thing, and I think that this offseason there's a very good chance, even without moving anybody of consequence. I think that they're going to add 2 major contributors this offseason, and that's what they need to do. I think you can't worry about like Joel Embiid or Giannis and those types because they're great. They're going to get theirs no matter what. So I think that you don't really worry about that. I don't want the Cavs to make the mistake of chasing the ghost of Mitchell Robinson. Like Mitchell Robinson kicked the crap out of us. And it's easy to say, well, we need a guy who can do what he can do. This was a bad matchup. This was just one of those matchups where it exposed us. And usually the 2 bigs, we dominate on the glass. We dominate inside. And they found somebody they couldn't do that to. But as far as the trade goes long term, at this point, I think you got to wait and see what they do this offseason. But I am absolutely not worried about Donovan leaving. In 2 years, I mean, a lot can happen between now and then. I think it's going to come down to winning. And winning will come down to Mobley's development a lot. One other thing I just wanted to mention is Dan Gilbert. They say Dan Gilbert has vowed to never let another athlete hold his franchise hostage. And so if there's a real sense that Mitchell isn't in on this, Gilbert will not hesitate to get rid of him. So I don't know what that looks like as far as what the Cavs could get back, but it's something to watch.
Let me jump in here and let me play a little word association with Patrick if I can. And Mike, I'll get you in on this as well.
Are we using the sound effects or is this legit?
No, this is legit.
Oh, okay.
If anyone hasn't read Patrick's article from May 3rd, definitely go over and do so. And it says Cavs cannot overreact to disappointing playoff debut. In that article, he brings up a lot of guys who could potentially work as off-season acquisitions. So let me throw some names out to see if now 3 weeks later with the playoffs and everything now formulating, could this potentially happen? There's also another name that came out in the wake of mock drafts after the lottery last week that was not on Patrick's list. Could the Cavaliers possibly be bringing back Cody Zeller or Andre Drummond?
I think. Well, we actually never had Cody Zeller. We had
Tyler. Okay, I always get him mixed up.
Yeah, Cody. Yeah, and Cody reemerged. I mean, I didn't even know he was still playing, but he's a good example. Miami got him for $700K, and we needed a playable big. We don't need a star big off the bench. We just needed somebody who could go in and bang with Hartenstein. And Hartenstein we had actually, and was unfortunate we
Yep.
let him go because he's kind of perfect for that role. Um, Drummond again, I don't really see those two as likely. But Drummond's a heck of a rebounder. And it's a big difference if Bulls are paying him $3 million. And that's the price range I would prefer is under $5 million.
The two other names I wanted to bring up because I don't think Dylan Brooks is an option. I don't think they want the head case. They want the character. They don't want the character guys. Coming in and breaking up the dichotomy of this team. I don't think Kevin Love's back in the fold, especially after Miami making such a run the way that they are, because it would basically just be letting him go mid-season, coming back, and you have the same scenario right now. The two names that you brought up are very intriguing, and that's Alex Len and Bismack Biyombo.
I think Biyombo would be a nice fit for this team.
Yeah, I think he's not the Biyombo that we probably remember from the playoffs with the Raptors when he was guarding LeBron and slapping the floor. I mean, he had a heck of a series.
He doesn't need to
like
be.
him. Right. I like him in that role. And again, he would be extremely cheap. Alex Len, I was pretty high on him coming out. I thought he'd be a lot better than he is. But overall, that's a playable big man. He has some skill. I think just to mention a couple of my preferences. I really like Thomas Bryant. He played for the Lakers, and I think he put up 12 and 6, and then he got traded for Mo Bamba, who I'd also like. But those are two bigs that can also shoot, and I want the third big to not resemble Evan Mobley or Jared Allen. I want him to be something different. A rebounder is nice, and an outside shooting touch would be very nice. We need shooting from anywhere we can get it.
Here's the name that, and I'm sorry, Mike, you look like you were going to say something. I was going to bring up the last name on my list here, but go ahead.
Hit the last name first, and then I'll jump in.
Okay, so one of the immediately after the draft lottery, the mocks come out, and I don't remember if this was Adrian Wojnarowski. Remember, the Cavs don't have a first round pick as it's owed to Indiana in the Karis LeVert deal from last year. They're at 58. And one of the names that I saw in one of the mocks is very intriguing, and I would very much like to see this gentleman fall into our lap. Zach Edey from Purdue, the National Player of the Year.
Okay.
First of all,
I haven't seen him play much.
If he lasts till 58, the other NBA teams ought to be slapped. But if they get him at 58, that's a steal. That's a steal and a half. The other thing, what I was going to ask was, is Mobley's brother a 3 or a 4?
He's a 4, actually, and I think he's somebody to watch for. He's 23 years old, and Isaiah can shoot from the outside. His touch looked really, really nice.
See, because that's what I was thinking about when we were going to go Cavs on this, and Jim knows with my job now down here, it's like it's 11 hours a day. It's like nothing in my brain. But today I had some downtime and I was thinking about it, and I'm like, do they really need to go out and make a splash? They drafted this kid out of USC. They brought him here because his brother is here. But he's got something to him. I knew he could shoot. I just couldn't remember if he was a 3 or a 4. Because unfortunately, I think Jim believes this too. If they're going to move a piece, it's going to be Okoro, which sucks. Because he's the best on-ball defender.
And I put... Go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say, because I've been actually hearing rumors going around, who's going to get moved here? Is it going to be Okoro or is it going to be LeVert? Because I don't think one of those guys is going to be on the opening night roster in November.
Honestly, I don't know. I lean toward both of them being on the roster. I just don't. I don't think Okoro has a lot of value to trade. I just feel like he will always have more value on our roster than we will get trading him. But he is probably the only young guy we have where you can say, oh, he has upside, and another team might want that.
Let me ask you this, Patrick.
I don't see, yeah.
Is Isaac Okoro a product of JB Bickerstaff's defensive system? Or do you think he's just that good? He could plug and play somewhere else.
Oh, he's developed. I mean, they've developed him by putting him on the toughest assignment every night for 3 straight years. And for his detractors, which there are many, again, like more casual fans who don't understand his value, I think people forget it's like we have this small backcourt, and it was one of the confusing things in the Knicks series was why is Garland on Brunson? Because Okoro did an amazing job on him. He was the only one who made things difficult for him. But at the end of the day, no, Okoro is just a very talented defender. But the big question is offensively, like how. And I would say one thing that I do think that has hurt him, and I think it has also hurt Mobley to a degree, is the Cavs play the slowest pace in the league. And if you play the slowest pace in the league, there's only so many shots to go around. And Donovan Mitchell takes 20 and a half. And really after that, then Garland takes 16, Mobley takes 12, and Jared Allen took like 9.7. So what's left for our Isaac Okoro? I think that what bothers me is this statistic might surprise you, but in Isaac Okoro's last 110 games, he shot 38.7% on 3-pointers.
Wow.
He's almost at 40 over the last 110 games.
I'm glad that you brought that up because I've seen some Cavs games, and I can't be the only one who thinks this, but his best shot is in the corner where Kevin Love was, but yet he can't, for his size and the fact that he's also stereotypically a slasher like LeVert is, he can't get to the middle and make his own shot unless the lane is clear.
Yeah, that's the problem. He also doesn't have a pull-up.
Yeah.
Yeah, he can't drive and stop and pull up. He has to either go straight to the rim and he's good finishing at the rim too. I think that he does have potential, and I think that Jimmy Butler actually said that when he played against him, like he was a big fan of Isaac Okoro in his rookie year, and Okoro's been compared to Butler. Butler didn't have much of an offensive game when he started, and he developed one. So it's hard to say, but I don't think that he's going to get the opportunity here to develop his offensive game, because to me, that statistic I just said, he doesn't take a lot a game, but over 110 games, that's a big enough sample size to say he's improved. And I think that if they keep him, you have to let him shoot 4 or 5 threes a game. You have to give him a chance to put up more shots, because that's what they need. I think ultimately that's what they want out of the position. And I think a guy I really like and think that they could be targeting is Max Strus for Miami. I think he'd be very good for that spot and what they seem to want from it, but he's not the defender Okoro is. So I just have a hard time seeing LeVert or Okoro. I think they both have value to the team, and more value than they'll fetch on the trade market.
As long as Jetty's on the opening night roster, I'm fine.
That's a question.
That's my guy.
I don't know if he will be.
That's my guy.
I don't know if he will be. Oh, it's so close. It's hard to say.
That's why I haven't bought a new Cavs jersey yet, because the one in my closet's Larry Nance Jr.
Oh man,
that broke my heart.
I like Larry Nance, man. I know. Yeah, it was a bummer.
He would have been nice to have.
He's on the bubble.
Now,
for sure.
Now, your article definitely said, don't panic, although everyone wants to call out JB, but it's been 3 weeks now. Let's maybe bring this a little bit full circle. You've got JB, who again is 1-6 in the playoffs in the last 2 years, makes zero adjustments especially in the fourth quarter, especially with a lead. I can't tell. This team should have won 55 or possibly approached 60 games, and with the number of games that they lost in the fourth quarter, especially blowing big leads. But now you've got Doc Rivers, Mike Budenholzer, Nick Nurse, and Monty Williams all out on the market. If I'm Kobe Altman and Dan Gilbert, there's got to be a little bit of drool forming on your lips.
Here's where you can't do that. And this is just me. You have a young core. Every single guy except maybe Nurse that you are talking about has failed with young cores. What they've had their success with is with grizzled veterans who were put together to win a title. Doc Rivers. Budenholzer's had his best years with veterans. Nick Nurse is the only one I think you can make it, in my opinion, you can make a case for taking this team over. But at the same time, even the quote unquote younger guys in Toronto, how long had Kyle Lowry been in the league at that point in time when he won a title? And they don't win that title if Kawhi's not there.
Right. Kawhi Leonard is why they won it. Yeah.
Kawhi Leonard and, one half of the moron twins from Brooklyn getting injured in the finals.
Right.
So I don't think moving on from Bickerstaff is the answer to this, Jim. And I know, and I understand why people would want to. But you have to remember, you don't want to be the Dwayne Casey franchise either and have a guy who legitimately has a claim to coach of the year and get rid of him. They weren't first in defense and Oliver has made his contractual appearance.
I was waiting on
it. Say hi, Jim.
I quarantined my cat.
No, and it seems every episode, when I was in New York or down here now, he jumps up and we at least see his tail, but he's gonna lay down. But you can't be that franchise. You can't be the Browns and expect to have long-term success when you have guys who have bought. He hasn't lost the locker room. This team believes in their coach, believes in his staff. You build on that. You don't just let it run because sexy names are out there. That's just me.
I agree because that number one defensive rating too, you've got to remember, like, we have this backcourt of 2 6'1" guys. And to be able to have the number one defense is remarkable. I know you have fantastic bigs for that, but it should be easily exploitable. They got Mitchell and Garland playing good defense. Not that they're great defenders, but they bought in. They were trying, and that's all you really can ask.
And that's my point. There's a reason Doc Rivers only won one title, and it was with that big three in Boston. No one else has bought into his message. He basically said so himself when it came to the Clippers.
Of who is available, I like Monty Williams the most. But I just think they're committed to going with this because you could complain about his rotations, and I understand that. But a lot of the complaints sound like this. They sound like, well, Jetty's in the doghouse again. Oh, I think he should play Raul Neto. Oh, where's Rolo? We need Rolo minutes. I mean, do you hear yourselves? Like, the team does not have depth. And we learned, we only have 6 playable players in the postseason. What is he supposed to do? And we don't have any shooting at all.
Patrick,
outside of Garland and Mitchell, we have nobody who can shoot.
You know what it actually reminds me of, and you being a Clevelander can probably relate to this, and Mike, you probably can as well. You know what your argument is? It sounded like Tony Rizzo going off on Carlton Mitchell.
Oh, I remember that.
I didn't even think of that until you started bringing up those names. My God.
Right. Carlton Mitchell. Hey, guys, Carlton Mitchell's playing this Sunday. Oh man, but I heard him recently going off on the Cavs, and I was like, he's not funny anymore. It's just that it's played now, you
And
know.
that's why I only listen to Carmen and Lima.
Yeah, Carmen's good.
I actually listen to MJI on iHeart in my office, so I'm still getting it.
Yeah.
No, but and also, I mean, again, I understand the thought, but they're not even in their prime yet.
Well,
and they're a
this is to me,
50-win team.
It's all Kobe's asking for, and it's just one more year. If anything similar happens, he's gone.
Agreed.
Absolutely. This is a 1-year thing. It's like we didn't have a full-on roster. How can Kobe feel good about firing the coach knowing the roster wasn't really fully prepared? So I think Kobe feels like I need to make a couple additions and then give him another shot. If he fails, he's gone.
You know, we're in a very precarious situation if you think about it as Clevelanders, Patrick, because the Guardians right now are this year what everyone thought that they were going to be last year. Last year, they were an overachieving ball club, and this year, they're right where everyone thought that they were, just below the 500 mark. If the Browns come out of the chute flat, Stefanski could be gone. If the Cavs have another disappointing playoff season, Bickerstaff could be gone. And could we actually have 3 new head coaches in Cleveland next summer?
Pray to God that doesn't happen.
I would be surprised. Yeah, because I would still think like Tito's still got.
If Tito left, it's on his own accord.
Right, that's what I'm saying. They wouldn't get rid of Tito, but Tito would leave on his own accord. But Tito doesn't have very much left in him, let's be honest.
I could see him leaving, I guess. And yeah, Stefanski's definitely on the hot seat. I gotta say though, I mean, Watson's a big question mark, but the Browns have done some good stuff this offseason. I mean, I think like if they, it seems like we say it every year, but I mean this year really, like on paper, that's a hell of a roster.
Right,
it really should win.
But remember, as Kenny Mayne used to say, games are not played on paper; they're played inside TV sets.
Right. Yeah.
I love when he goes Kenny Mayne on that.
Yeah, I don't know.
But then again, Jim, there is also our personal show motto.
Sometimes it may be good, sometimes it may be shit.
Thank you. 53 minutes in, and there it is.
Told you, we get it gets a little crazy in here, Patrick.
Oh, that's quite all right.
Hey, speaking of crazy, and someone else from Ohio, did you see Cincinnati? The Reds got City Edition jerseys, Jim.
I don't think they're that terrible.
No, they're not. They're not Charlotte's.
Nothing was our 2-time Wisey Award winners.
Yeah. Have you seen did you see the City Edition Charlotte Hornet jerseys, Patrick?
Charlotte Hornet?
Yeah.
Jerseys? No.
It said CLT across the front of the jersey.
I'm working on it.
I just saw his eyebrows go up.
No, didn't wait, so you're talking about the Reds jerseys?
The Reds jerseys came out, but the City Edition is, we had a whole like 3/4 of an episode about City Edition jerseys because the Charlotte Hornets won.
I hate so many of them.
I liked the gray ones that said the land across them, and I liked the ones this year that had the Metro Parks. I did.
Yeah.
But the Charlotte ones, we don't know how they got passed.
All right, I gotta see it. But what would you
say? Yeah, it's coming. It's coming.
What would you say was your favorite Cavs uniform?
My favorite Cavs uniform? Well, I'm partial to the blue and orange because I'm a big Met fan. But no, actually
like the 97 jersey.
Yes, but if
those
not,
are my favorite.
If not those, and I'm gonna take from my fandom on. If not those, the black ones when they first moved into the arena, and the current all maroon.
Okay.
The all wine ones.
Yeah.
Patrick?
Here we go.
That's the jersey.
What is CLT?
It's the thing for the airport in Charlotte, but
Never mind. Never mind. I was about to pronounce it.
Mike, please give the explanation we gave on the Wise East that night.
okay. So here's the problem. So first of all, it's CLT across the front, and then there's a pinstripe running between the L and the T.
Yeah.
Then they have it's a LaMelo Ball one, so there's ball on the back, and it's a Jordan version, so there's someone with their legs spread on the front of the jersey.
That's hilarious.
You're never going to be able to unsee it.
You're not.
I seriously was about to just read it out loud, like because I wanted to see why it was funny, and then I was like, "Thank God I did."
It fucking says clit. I mean, I'll say it for
It
you.
says clit. But I was about to do like the hooked on fun, like clit.
If it would, we risked the copyright strike to be able to try and get the Jay and Silent Bob clip up that night, but I couldn't cut it in time.
But why would they do CLT?
I think that's
How is that Charlotte?
I think that's the code for the airport.
Yep.
Really?
Somebody,
I would never think that.
Somebody else did the airport thing when those came out.
Was it Phoenix? Or was it Washington? Did they do like Dulles?
No. Washington did the Dick and Balls logo.
Oh, that's right, the Dick and Balls logo.
Patrick's got his eyebrows up.
Well, welcome to the actual Wisey Sports Show.
Yeah, no, this is good. So, wait a minute. So, hold on. I'm trying to look up this Reds uniform.
No, the Reds uniform is really cool.
I want to see it though. It's this. Is it a city?
It's a city edition. It's on all black.
City Connect uniform.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I know like they had that new logo, like that new C logo.
I think that was part of this.
Like my friend.
That's the Dick and Balls one, Patrick.
My friend Molly on. Wait. Oh.
Flip it up. Or you
That
have
is
the
crazy.
Sacramento Kings that said Sacktown on it. That was great too.
Yeah. Or when Milwaukee said Cream City.
Get the fuck out.
My God, that looks like a big dildo, dude. That doesn't even look like, you know, like that's a toy. You know, that's not. Nobody's packing that. Holy cow.
You've got to be kidding me right now.
Mike, I think we just got an OTR.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, I think I need to cut that this
You
week.
need to clip that. Although, again, that would fit into the arena in Miami.
What's that?
That would fit in the arena in Miami.
Oh, we're not going to discuss that tonight.
No, we can't. Oh my God. Can I be a bit of a jackass, James?
Like we haven't been in the last 10 minutes?
Your answer should have been better than anyone I know. Let's see here. How can I be a bit of a jackass to this group tonight?
First of all, your local Braves now have a Quick Read logo on their uniforms.
And the Mets win it! Lindor against Cleveland gets the winning hit, and the Mets
That's
win.
awful.
Mute.
You
Yeah,
couldn't
Mike.
write that.
Mike's been muted.
So bad. I don't really watch the Guards anymore.
Unmute me or I will get naked pictures of you for next week.
Good luck. Okay.
No, in all seriousness, though, there have been 5 separate articles in 2 days about that trade because they're playing the Guardians.
Yeah.
See, I like those.
I don't know.
I think they're way too heavy on the black. I mean, I like the idea, but black on black, I don't know about that.
See, I like the black on black. The only thing I think would make it better if it was the red pants with the black jersey.
I think if you turn the lettering red, I think it makes it work a lot better because they're a little bit of an eyesore. You got to strain for them a little bit.
Yeah, it makes it pop a little bit. Plus, Joey Votto's just a badass.
I'm scared to think because the Gardos are getting theirs next year.
So are the Mets.
Yeah, and this is Nike starting to ruin baseball like they ruined the NBA. Thank God Fanatics has taken over the NHL next year. It'll keep them as far away from
Did Fanatics get that? But going back to what I was saying after I played the clip being a jackass, there have been articles in both cities written about that trade. Jim, I call this the fairest trade I've ever seen.
It took a couple of years. I mean, you figure the Guardians reaped the rewards of it, last year with the emergence of Rosario. He got his big contract, and now they're struggling out of the gates right now because they can't get anybody out and hold a lead. I mean, their pitching staff was supposed to be their strong suit, and now they're already there's people talking that if they keep this inconsistent, is Shane Bieber going to be on the trading block?
I think they would lose every bit of goodwill they got by signing Jimenez and Ramirez long term if they traded Shane Bieber.
Because McKenzie will be back very, very shortly, but it's like Emmanuel Clase has blown 5 saves and 3 of them this month. He only blew 4 all of last year.
His cutter looks flat this year. Last year it had snap to it, almost like a 100-mile-an-hour slider. The 3 I saw last night were very flat in the middle of the zone. And again, I'm watching highlight packages because I don't have the amount of money for the MLB package that it would take. The base hit to Alvarez was a decent pitch. He put a good swing on it. The one to Lindor was right down the middle. I mean, it was straight. It had no movement whatsoever. It was right down the middle. But as far as the trade goes, the Guardians got their middle infield for the next 10 years if they play this right.
Are they doing double header tomorrow because of the washout?
Yeah, two single admission games, and they push the night game to the Sunday night game of the week.
Okay.
So in other words, the radio ratings will go up tomorrow night because ESPN is absolute trash.
Yeah, I'll take Hammy over whatever.
Howie Rose.
How bad is ESPN?
Dude.
Just across the board.
Dude.
Mike, have at it.
I call them
floodgates are open.
I call them ESECP NFL for a reason.
Yeah.
They are god awful.
I can't stand it. I can't stand what it's become.
Do you want to know why Pat McAfee's show is now on ESPN? Because they need this motherfucker to save it.
Dude, they're going to ruin it somehow.
Yeah, because they can't say fuck anymore. And that's been the funniest shit they've done.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
The Jay Glazer, did you watch the Mad Mel stuff, Jim?
Say that again. Sorry, I was refreshing ESPN to get an update on the hockey game.
That's okay. Did you watch the Mad Mel stuff I sent you from the draft?
Not yet.
When Ty Schmidt plays Mad Mel Kiper and Jay Glazer at the same time and he argues with himself, it is some of the funniest shit you'll ever see.
That sounds really funny, actually.
Oh my God, it's terrible. And they're god awful. The conversation they had with Ian Rappaport just hosted when McAfee was out with the baby. I don't know how they're going to sustain the success they've had being an independent going over there. But he's already had to save game day. I think they just threw him out there to save this.
Because you can't make sense of half of their shows.
That's because Stephen A is a piece of garbage.
I was just gonna say, what about him saying that? He said I forget exactly how he said it, but saying that Kawhi should retire.
Oh, JJ Redick ate his ass for that.
Basically, oh yeah, basically because his injuries are annoying Stephen A. kind of thing. Like it wasn't like out of concern for him. It was
Stephen
like,
A. Smith is a Knicks fan, and by being a Knicks fan, he has no opinion on the NBA.
And the Knicks hate him. The Knicks hate him
because he talks shit.
Talking so much shit. I know. They don't like him. I can't believe. Actually, this guy he's on Twitter, but like he's been on a lot of like the boards over the years, like OBR and stuff. And he's somebody I really trust on the Cavs and everything. He said that he thinks that Stephen A. is ultimately angling to end up on Fox News. And I thought that was really interesting.
Well, that's when he had Clay Travis on his show.
Well, I mean,
what's that?
It's when he had Clay Travis on his podcast.
I mean, Jason Whitlock already turned it into a Fox.
I didn't know that.
Jason Whitlock is another piece of garbage.
That's it's amazing. I don't know, but yeah, you make a lot more money on Fox.
Not anymore. They had to pay that settlement.
Well. Yeah, but if you can find a black guy who's going to say anti-black things, like you're worth a lot to them.
And remember, that's the first settlement. There's other ones still in the pipe.
Oh God, yes.
I'm so glad. What's so weird though is how did they get away with firing Tucker Carlson? Well, I mean, basically trying to make it seem like it was his fault. Like it's your entire platform. Your platform is this. Like, so how is it Tucker Carlson's fault?
I listen to Keith Olbermann's podcast a couple of times a week, and man, that entire week was some of the funniest stuff I've ever listened to in the podcasting world.
Olbermann is wonderful.
Yeah.
I still have to send you the episode where he talked about almost getting thrown out of a Indians game against the Yankees for the video review. I want to say back in '97, and then also where he got failed on a term paper because of that Giants game where Herman Edwards scooped it up and scored on the fumble instead of taking a knee.
Yes.
That's a classic. I think he also had a Mets story in there I told you about, so I got to send that to you.
Yeah, he's got a few Mets stories from when he was covering stuff. I mean, ESPN is no longer what it was when we were growing up. I mean, I am literally just about 9 months to the day older than the network. Network started in September.
That's the whole reason I started my blog and everything is that I just like I'm looking for that hardcore like X's and O's kind of like discussion, and that's not on ESPN at all. Like it's
I'm looking for it to cover. I'm looking for it to be more than NFL Network Part fucking 2. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But the first professional sporting event that wasn't tractor pull or something like that I remember being on ESPN was Sunday Night Baseball. John Miller and Joe Morgan, Jim.
Joe Morgan, yep.
Mm-hmm. They were great. The soundtrack of Sunday nights for how many years?
Oh, yeah. They were so good.
Baseball Tonight was a five night a week show during baseball season with Hall of Famers.
What do they have covering baseball now?
They have Ravitch, David Cohn, and Eduardo Perez in the booth, which they're not bad. But you lost me when Carl Ravitch spent 2 innings calling Francisco Lindor Jose Reyes last year during the playoffs.
Oh, my God.
They have Jeff Passan, who's really good. But then they had this woman they had this woman in the I don't remember her name because she pissed me off so bad. I didn't want to fucking know her name. But she said, hey, remember the last time the Mets went to the World Series, they wore the black uniforms. Passan about lost his mind. He said, do you not remember 2015? And she had to backtrack. This is national playoff coverage of a team less than 90 minutes from your location.
Yeah.
And you can't remember? Now, Jim, I don't know if I ever told you.
Hear that?
Go ahead, Patrick.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Patrick.
No. I just heard something like that recently. Did you see that Lisa Salters like called into that like show and she was like talking about watching Joker play. And she was like, "Oh, like I was really sleeping on this guy and everything." She basically admitted she never watched him play.
No, none of them.
You
No,
cover the NBA
exactly.
and you're not watching the two-time MVP who should have been the MVP this year.
Exactly. So, Jim, I don't know if I ever told you this story. So, in front of Patrick, this is what soured me to ESPN. I swore by Mike and Mike. Not because it's my name, but I just loved the dynamic between the two of them. They were phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
So it was the day after Game 3 of the 2015 World Series. I legitimately was out sick. But every morning, 6 a.m., Mike and Mike went on, and I would listen to, and I didn't have TV. I had my phone and radio, so I listened all 4 hours. But every day it was, Mike and Mike, you're home for the 2015 World Series. I listened to all 4 hours. I then listened to the podcast version for the next 4 hours. They literally talked about the World Series for 12 minutes in 4 hours. Not 12 minutes an hour. 12 minutes in 4 hours. They talked about week 6 of the NFL for an hour and a half. You spent 12 minutes on a World Series less than 90 minutes from your door. But let's just, juggle the nuts of the NFL for as long as we want.
And that's why I brought up last week, 2 weeks ago, that for me, like I only watch ESPN for game coverage, and really for me, it's only subscribing to ESPN Plus so I can get the NHL package. But if I actually want to watch decent broadcast, I'll tune into CBS or I'll go to Turner.
And for me with college football, I mean, there's another one. How long was the Ohio State-Michigan game always on ABC or ESPN? How long? We are going into our 7th game that will be on Fox. And after this year, they have no access to the Big Ten at all.
Wow.
Yeah.
I have said,
try to actually win this one this year. Why don't you?
Way to rewrite a narrative at 2-5, Dick.
2 years of doing this show, and I've actually had you eating crow both times.
We may have to change some things.
Patrick, I wrote him a 6-verse edition of The Night Before Christmas, slamming the Buckeyes when they got blown out the first time. So, yeah.
I'm going to make sure the cat sits on your head when you come down in October.
Yeah, I'll be sleeping at a motel then.
Here's one for you, Patrick. We're doing a live show from the tailgate before Georgia, Florida. Because I'm an hour north of Jacksonville.
Okay.
That could get interesting.
1 second.
He's having technical difficulties.
So real quick, while Patrick's fixing his thing, Lakers and Nuggets very close. Game 2 there.
Game 3.
I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. Game 3. The Hawks stunning Boston for 2, possibly sweeping them out. And then in the NHL, we had Vegas win in overtime in Game 1. We had the Panthers and Carolina are just facing off now, considering they just finished 2 hours ago with that game from Thursday night.
What the hell was that?
Think about it. If Matthew Tkachuk doesn't score with 12.7 seconds left in the 4th overtime, that game is still probably going on. It was the 5th longest game in the history of the NHL, and he told a story to the reporter afterwards that after he scored, they had Red Bulls in the locker room to give the players energy, and they actually had to order out pizzas to be able to get some food in there because all the concessions is closed because nobody knew when this damn game was going to end. I've never heard that before.
When I saw that game and when I heard the final score and how it went down, I went, "Oh, Jim's going to have some things to say."
I love the fact that my dad and I were talking about this as well, is that The Panthers were the last team into the playoffs in the Eastern Conference, and the Heat were the last team in the playoffs in the NBA in the Eastern Conference. And both of those teams, if the Panthers win tonight, are going to be 2 wins away from the championship series. What the hell's going on with this?
It's the typical, and Patrick, back me up on this. I think I'm right. It's the typical get hot at the right time.
No pun intended, because one of them's named the Heat.
Yeah. I mean, it's also the best coach team in the NBA. I mean, Spoelstra just coaches circles around everybody, especially the Celtics. Can you imagine? How about them not doubling Butler at any point? They just let Butler abuse them over and over again.
Somebody flashed the stat on Facebook the other night after they pulled that first upset in game 1, is that if you look at their rotation, take Butler out of the equation, they've got Adebayo and one other guy, and everybody else on that team was not drafted.
Yeah.
That I think is true, because they're missing Tyler Hero too.
Yeah.
And Hero might be back. If they make the finals, he might be back.
That's a big move. If he's back, that's big for them.
Yeah, it would help. I think ultimately Denver would be favored, but we'll see. I can't help but pull for LeBron. So, I'm rooting for the Lakers, honestly, and we'll see. But
let me pose this question now that you bring that up. We all think that LeBron at 39 years old it's finally catching up with him. If they get swept, does he hang it up?
I don't think so. I think that he's playing. He's definitely he wants to play with his son, and his son isn't eligible to be drafted this year, so he wants to play till 40. I think he's going to play out at least his contract, which is through next year. And then I think that the thing is it catching up with him, or is it also his foot? Because his foot needs surgery, and he's playing on it. So I think, he did put up another LeBron season that was 29, 8, and 7. So is he
right?
Is he cooked or,
in 55 games, which is the first time in his career he's missed significant time?
That is true. But I still think I mean he's still, he's not even close to not being able to play. He just has to have a reduced role, which they've done. I mean, they're trying to make Anthony Davis the center of it. He does it every other game. He doesn't do it every game,
right.
Which is it's more on AD than LeBron.
No, you're absolutely right. And the thing is, 29, 8, and 7, yes, in 55 games, Jim, you're absolutely right. This is year 20.
Right. And a lot of guys take that many games off.
In year 5.
It's normal now. Right. It's normal now to play less than 70 games.
I mean, not for nothing. The heartstrings want his final year in Cleveland because that's just how it should be, in my opinion. Walk off the court. Walk off the court after game 82 and immediately throw 23 in the rafters.
Well, I was actually living in New York when he was in Miami, and I remember saying to somebody that I felt he would come back, and them laughing at me.
I did too.
I was like, I'm telling you, he will. I was like, he'll come back, at some point. I did expect it to be the end of his career, but I still think he may do that. But it looks a little less likely to me right now. But his contract is up after next year. And then we do have a first-round pick in 2024, although hopefully it's towards the bottom. I think with Bronny being a package deal with LeBron, he's probably a top 10 pick, honestly.
I'm sorry.
So it's hard to say, but
he's got to come back because they're still using his TV at Romo Fijo.
Oh, Jesus. Stop.
That was the joke the first 2 years is, hey, LeBron, thanks for bringing us over to your house to watch TV.
I went to a game in year 1 there. That is an impressive board.
My favorite, though, is still the one in Seattle where it's like they took it and they split it in halves, and it's now on either side of the arena, so it's not dead over center.
That's actually kind of good idea.
Very cool if you've ever seen it.
Yeah.
So Patrick, do you follow much NHL? Because I wanted to ask Jim a question quick.
I honestly don't.
All right, so
Go ahead.
So let me ask you this real quick. Houston
Thank you for
or
bringing this up.
or Kansas City? And this is the Arizona Coyotes leaving the desert because it was the worst idea Gary Bettman's had.
Yeah, there's talk that in no particular order, there's 5 or 6 different markets. There's Quebec City, Houston, Kansas City, Atlanta, and Salt Lake City has emerged. I think Houston is the most viable option because I've actually seen somebody already mocked up that they put a cowboy hat on the Kachina logo and kind of put a little bit of like Texas blue in there. I don't think Atlanta's in play because they've already lost 2 teams, although that would be hilarious that the Jets, the original Winnipeg Jets, move to Phoenix, become the Coyotes. The Thrashers lose their team to Winnipeg, and then now Phoenix could end up going to Atlanta. So how's that for circle of life? Quebec would be a nice move because their big thing is they didn't want to get an arena built. Now they've got a state-of-the-art 18,000 seat arena. And it would be perfect. So now you would have 8 Canadian teams. Hell, put them in their own division for all I care. Kansas City would be a nice move because it keeps them in the Western Conference. Salt Lake City, though, is getting a lot of traction because geographically it's very, very smart for them to move. And you avoid the conflict with the Stars of being the only team in the state of Texas.
That and it snows in Salt Lake.
Yeah, I'm leaning a little bit personally towards Salt Lake City, but I think Houston would be the best move. Heartstrings, though, I gotta say Quebec. I don't think Quebec's going to be in play though because Houston is the 4th biggest market in the country. Salt Lake City, Kansas City, Atlanta, they're all in the top 30. Quebec is the 7th biggest market in Canada, but I'm thinking right now, betting man, I gotta say Houston. Smart move would be Salt Lake City. Heartstrings got to go Quebec.
I like the Salt. If they keep them in the States, I like the Salt Lake move. But yeah, if you're going to open up the border, go to Quebec. Go to Quebec. So, James, we are at 123 and change rolling. And I think it's time for the translator. And I think we should put our friend here in the Wisey's quote unquote hot seat.
I'm getting it ready.
So what the Wisey's translator is, this came out of a off the cuff thing Jim said during their draft show. We were mentioning that Will Levis was not drafted by the Washington Commanders. He said, I said, wait, they do have a quarterback. They have Jacoby Brissett. Jim said, let me put that in the Wisey translator. And he made some noise and he goes, Sanika Wallace, which brought the house down. I said Will Levis was Ryan Leaf. Last episode we had we said Joel Embiid and John said walking insurance claim. I was given Brett Favre and being in Georgia now said Boss Hog. And who was yours? Oh, Jim was given Kyrie Irving and he began to sing douche canoe, douche canoe, douche canoe. So you can see that this is not a serious segment. This is not a word association game that we play for points. This is something where we're going to see who can spit something out of their nose at some point in time. So we're going to put you in the hot seat first, and I'm going to give you a name, and you're going to come with the first thing that pops into your brain, okay? No matter what it may be. There's nothing too crazy for us. Trust me, watch some of our stuff.
Trust me. The first time we did this, I gave him Marjorie Taylor Greene.
And I said crack whore.
Yeah, Nazi. Yeah, Nazi.
Now that would be pregnant crack whore to you.
Are you fucking serious?
From the pictures that are coming out, it looks it.
Yeah, she just looks like it. Yeah.
Jeez. Okay. So, Patrick, your first name in the Wisey translator is Pat Riley.
GOAT.
Really?
Greatest coach of all time.
Okay.
Yeah. Basketball mind ever. I mean, yeah. Pat
Okay.
Riley's the shit.
I was going to say
Also, yeah.
I was
Go
going to say
ahead.
leather skin Sonny Crockett wannabe, but okay.
Good thing you didn't
Oh,
give
my
him to
God.
me.
I may have to.
Oh,
I was
really?
gonna say Soul Glow.
Do you think he gets up from the couch and he leaves the wet spot?
Who wore more shit in their hair, him or Bret the Hitman
I know.
Hart?
I told you
Yeah.
Bret Hart stuff was all water.
It doesn't matter. It still looked like a lube job.
Lube job. Look at he
Bret
dunked his head in lard. Dude, this is mild.
Yeah, on Reddit, there's this user. His username is Bret Hart Buries This, and it's just somebody pretending to be Bret Hart. And he like he writes exactly like he sounds. Like you could really hear Bret Hart saying everything he says because he adds like like after every sentence and everything. And he'll just bury anything.
Now,
Anything.
Now, is it anywhere comparable to whoever runs the Iron Sheik's account?
Oh my gosh, how good is that?
Yes.
But Bret Hart is just hilarious because he's such a miserable, like he just constantly buries everything.
He was my guy growing up, and it's like, yeah, he was like Mike will tell you, I was the biggest Bret Hart fan you'll ever meet. When we were growing up, I had him drawn all over my textbooks and everything.
Oh yeah,
I can't even stand the guy anymore.
Oh man, we got to talk wrestling sometime. Yeah, Bret Hart was a great wrestler, man. He's awesome to watch in the ring, but he's just such a miserable dude. And
I did Chicago 2 years ago for Punk's return, and boy, do I regret that.
Oh my god, dude, that dude's a douche. I just read something like that was a transcript of him and Colt Cabana like doing an interview, and they talked about basically abusing this female like who wanted to break into the business, and they talked about how they used her to drive them around, and that they'd whenever they'd get her into the ring, they basically give her a forearm shot to basically hurt her.
I saw that. I didn't read the whole article, but I saw what you're talking about.
Despicable. It's despicable. And they were like 25, 26 when they were saying this. So I don't want to hear, oh, it was 18 years ago. They were adults. And they're laughing about abusing this woman.
Yeah.
It's terrible. Yeah, I'm not a big, I mean, I like him. I like him as far as like, I thought he was good for like AEW. Like I thought he was good like for ratings and everything for them, but I don't like the guy personally at all.
Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to All Out next week. Or I'm sorry, Double or Nothing, because All Out's in Wembley. I've already got it ordered. Give me the goddamn video game already.
Oh yeah,
I'm saying that about NCAA.
Speaking of which, did anyone see the trailer that dropped yesterday for the new Mortal Kombat 1 game?
No.
I heard about it. No, but I haven't seen it.
Holy shit.
It's a game?
Yes.
Yeah, they're going back to the roots.
What actually they did is,
the movie.
Did anyone play 11 or anyone watch the story mode of 11?
No, we have 10.
It's on my Xbox, but I haven't played it.
Well, basically it's all revolves around time, and I'm not going to spoil it, but basically the universe and the timeline gets completely reset. It's almost like watching The Flash or something. And now Liu Kang is like the one who controls time, and he rewrote all of history and the timeline and everything, and he's in control. So it's like the trailer shows like him, young Raiden, young Kung Lao, Melina's back, Kitana, Shang Tsung, Scorpion, and Sub-Zero, and they say it's going to basically be like Mortal Kombat meets DC versus Capcom with the team system or like the assist mode.
Oh, nice.
And some of the one fatality they show, oh My God, I'd almost pull it up now if we didn't get the copyright strike. It's about 3 minutes long, but it looks absolutely incredible, and it's out in September.
No, the one I'm waiting for is now with the NIL stuff, they're actually going to have the players' names.
Yeah.
In NCAA 24 next year.
Yeah, didn't I read something about
I am excited about that.
Division 2 or Division 3 players are already signing paperwork or something? Or
I didn't see that. I just know that's why I have because it's only coming out in the new gen consoles. It's not coming out in the older gen stuff.
Yeah.
So
I'm a big Madden guy, so I'm really, this is going to be like the first college
show.
one I get.
The show.
Oh, I haven't played that either. I have it, but I haven't played it.
Dude, I am on that all the time. I do the road to the show one.
Yeah.
And I'm in year 2 with my character in the big leagues. And I play on the top level. And I threw a no-hitter.
Do you play online?
Not anymore. I used to with the Diamond Dynasty stuff. Okay. I really just like the franchise mode, and in Diamond Dynasty I like the showdowns, and I love the road to the show.
Michael doesn't want to get dominated by McCrack Daddy or whatever his name is.
You mean La Steroid Daddy Hack the Fourth? And then what do they call it today? He was called the TikTok I should have sent you today. It says in his first game he went 8 for 8 and hit 8 450-foot swamp donkeys.
Those are the best thing you send me on TikTok, man.
I know. So James, what's my word for the my name for the Wisey translator this week?
Oh, I got to think about this because I had a couple and I just got to narrow it down here.
Flip a coin, brother.
Oh, what was his name? I was just thinking about it and he slipped out of my head for a second.
I'm sorry.
Michael, your name, Aaron Hicks.
Lehu Zer. I hated him when he was in Minnesota. How about got the axe way too late?
I was almost going to give you Gary Sanchez, but I mean, we're already at an hour and a half, and I didn't want you going off for 40 minutes because he's a Met.
Nope. Gary Sanchez, I would have. Gary Sanchez would have been hooked on phonics. Mike Piazza.
I was almost going to call him Dirty Sanchez.
That's Mark.
No, Mark
sure it is.
Mark Sanchez's butt fumble.
No, he's dirty because he.
Well, yeah, but he got a Dirty Sanchez for having his face. There it is. His face is in his butt. You got it.
So, what was more memorable? The most memorable thing about that was Peyton calling him out at the ESPYs.
No, the most memorable thing about that was Peyton saying he wasn't going to call him out and doing it anyway.
Right. Dana, can you believe they wanted me to say the word anus?
Oh. James, I'm going non-sports with you.
Okay.
The name for your Wisey translator entry is Lauren Boebert.
White trash Casey Anthony.
Whoa! I don't think we've had a more truer statement said on this show ever.
Minus I was almost going to say, I can't think of her name right now, but yeah, because she's absolute trash, and yet she looks like a prostitute. But yet I couldn't. With that,
she's kind of hot though.
Yeah, and that's why I
You
went
have to
Casey
admit.
Anthony is because she's a
Yeah.
scumbag, but there were a lot of people that said Casey Anthony was hot. But
Yeah.
But we also can remember, I can't think of her name. There was some girl that was on Teen Mom that then went into like hardcore porn. I can't think of her name.
Wow.
Oh, I know you're talking about. Kind of looks like her.
Yeah. So Casey Anthony gets the nod.
Dude. Wow. That's horrible.
You wanted my opinion.
I agree. I understand. So last thing I wanted to touch on. Jim, I say we thank our esteemed guest. Patrick, why don't you tell us again where we can find your stuff, and thank you again for coming on tonight. I know it's we're a little bit long-winded, but we do bring the fun.
Yeah, you sure do. This was a great time, guys. I'm glad I got to meet you and hope to be on again. Yeah, my blog is at the Cleveland Sports Report. Very simple. The Cleveland Sports Report.wordpress.com. And then on Twitter, of course, I'm there. I think it's up there. Yeah, CS Report blog. So yeah, you can find me on there. I constantly interact with people. Like, always ready to talk Cleveland sports. And I'm really just want to say thanks again. Really appreciate it, guys.
Patrick, this was a lot of fun for a first-time guest. It's for somebody that we didn't know previously. I'm certainly not going to say skeptical, because I knew what we were getting by reading some of your stuff on Twitter and on the blog earlier this week. This was an absolute pleasure. We would love to have you back anytime you want to come on. The door is officially open.
I'd love to be on. Thanks a lot, guys.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, man. Have a great rest of your weekend, dude.
You too. Take care, guys.
We'll see you. Well, that was fun, James.
Wow.
Listen, and he knows his stuff. I mean, I know with the off the rail stuff that we got into was great, but he knows his stuff about this team.
Wow.
He's great. Again, found him by accident on Twitter.
That was probably, with all due respect to Willie, John, Alex, that was probably the guest I've been most excited to get in the 18-month history of this show.
And you're not taking a shot at the boys. It's the boys. The boys know what they're getting into. This guy, we went straight for content. With the boys, we know what we're getting into.
Right. And now he knows what he's getting himself into for follow-up editions.
And did you see? We had a first-time guest who got an off-the-rails segment.
Yes. Probably a couple of them.
Yeah, most likely a couple of them, especially the jerseys. I mean, just that's a toy, dude.
I actually think I might have to start a subsection on the page of the YZ Translator.
We might have to.
That'll give me something to do in the next couple of weeks here.
But no, in all seriousness, going back to the beginning, the piece on Jim Brown was phenomenal, bud. It really was. You're very welcome. We're coming up very soon on another kind of anniversary too. August 17th, I believe, will be the official 5th year anniversary of the Big Rican on Sports.
Wow.
I hope to actually have an episode up by then. That would be wonderful. If not, I think I'm going to start planning the 5-year show to be an extravaganza with everyone. But all my planning and scheming is going into something a week from today, sir.
Yeah, but before we get into that, it's I'm less than 2 months away from the 7-year anniversary of the Sports Note.
Are you serious?
July 16, 2016 was my first article about Josh Gordon.
Wow. Oh my God, that means we're 7 years from the title.
Yeah. 7 years of doing this.
Dude, I'm shocked I'm hitting 5.
And probably by the time we actually get together for the live spot, I could probably be at 100 Sports Notes on YouTube.
Jeez.
I've already hit 100. I've already hit 200, and I'm probably getting close to like 225 on the blog.
That's phenomenal. That is absolutely phenomenal.
I got 2 more coming out this weekend.
What you got coming out?
We're going to talk. I alluded to it earlier, but we're going to talk. They're going to be kind of one and the same, but we're going to talk about the Chicago Crabhawks winning the draft lottery and getting Connor Bedard, and how that is the one franchise that deserves no joy for the next decade. And then what I talked about very earlier today, I'm going to expand on about the Spurs winning the Victor Wembanyama sweepstakes, and don't put the kid on a pedestal just yet. So
No, I agree.
So with one, it's, congratulations to the Spurs for winning, but hold off on the prospect. And then the Blackhawks, congratulations to Connor Bedard for going number 1, but it's in the worst possible scenario for him.
Yeah, it's basically mirror images of the two.
Right.
Yeah. So the other rest of what I'm doing is obviously for next week's Big Rican, the Wise Guys presents Big Rican's birthday roast of JC Blue Note. And it's not going to be as bad as I was talking about. I can tell you
it's worse.
Possibly. I can tell you we will have one live guest. John will be on with us on Saturday night, as he confirmed last week. Oh, by the way, did you see Facebook? Big up, Nikki got her master's degree.
I saw that. Congratulations, Nikki.
Absolutely. I can confirm there will be 3 video tributes. Listen, one of them is from Mrs. Rican and Minnie Rican. So that will be one of them. And keep an eye on the mail, by the way.
Yeah, I've also warned a couple of our mutual friends that they may still get a conversation. I'm glad that Patrick came on with us tonight, because my father was going to call into the show and sing Taylor Swift songs. And I said, do not under any circumstances do that now. Next week, completely on the table. Not
listen,
this week.
You give your old man my phone number. We will make that happen. Or have him record it, and it'll be the soundtrack of the night.
I told him we're going to have the soundboard ready so I could play a whole bunch of buzzers and drown you out and everything. And
don't be a dick.
Oh, trust me, I will tell you off air what I cannot share this story about him and Taylor Swift that came up this afternoon.
Oh boy.
In front of my brother and his wife.
I can only imagine.
This will be like this will be the off-air version of Staff.
Really?
Yes.
That bad?
You'll get that. This will not be a B-side anywhere. This will not be recorded. Unfortunately, you guys are going to miss out on this one.
I can only imagine. So yeah, that'll start next week, 9 p.m. Eastern, right here on the Wise Guys channel. It's gonna be a lot of fun, but we've done a couple of birthday shows for me, and it's time to do one for my co-host, because, be honest with you guys, none of this works without him. None of it. Tonight we've been on for an hour and 45 minutes. We're going to go over the board to make sure I know how to work it, because I am going to work the board next week to make sure that all the videos and everything are uploaded properly. Unfortunately, because it's Memorial Day weekend, people are away, so I couldn't have all the boys on.
Yeah, but everyone's going to be away, and I'm going to be staying local. It's because I think I already told you about my schedule for that weekend.
Yeah, I want to see that movie too.
I may actually not do that. I think my dad's trying to get me to go out to dinner. I might actually be trying to set up a date if somebody could actually respond to a request.
That'd be very nice.
Yeah.
Along the lines of movies, how entertaining was the Kevin Pollak clip that I sent you?
I thought I knew everything that he's ever said about that movie, from Rich Eisen's show to Dan Patrick's show to Conan. And you know me, I'm a huge Kevin Pollak fan. There is a picture of me with Kevin Pollak on all of my social media hanging up in my apartment. I've got his book autographed. Did you ever see the story about him and the oversized pen?
No, but you told me about it.
I'm going to send you that clip when we get off the air. It's about 2 minutes long. I'll play it for you. It's totally true. I've written with the damn pen.
I saw that, and I came across it because he's in Mrs.
Wow.
Maisel too.
Yeah.
And I came across that, and it said another story about Jack Nicholson. I'm like, oh, I wonder what the hell Jack did this time. Anybody else see that?
I showed that to my mom. She laughed her ass off because we were both thinking the same thing. Is this going to come full circle? And is this going to be the story that he told of his mom over Nicholson's shoulder?
I've never heard that one, but that one I just sent you, I now know what surreal is.
Yeah, considering my mom loves Chinatown because she loves old school movies, and she's like, she's trying to laugh, and then at the same time she's thinking, I can never watch that the same way again, just like how Rich Eisen said.
Rich Eisen said the same thing.
Wow.
Mr. Giddish, are you sleeping with my daughter? For anybody who hasn't seen that, it's on YouTube. It's a Rich Eisen show. Kevin Pollak tells a story about doing A Few Good Men with Jack Nicholson. It's the second one he tells. This is far better than the first one.
And it's in correlation to also finding out while they were on set that
Magic Johnson
had HIV positive.
Yeah, that's how long ago that was.
Right.
So, Jim, I think we should sign off for the evening since we have a tutorial to go through next. But we will see everybody next week, same time, same place, same channel for the birthday roast of JC Blue Note.
And on that note, I'm actually glad you didn't add in the extra thing because I'm going to be playing DC Universe Online here in a few minutes. So I'll save the Hallmark movie for tomorrow afternoon because I got nothing going on, and then just playing a whole bunch of Mortal Kombat 11 to get ready for 12, even though it's 5 months away.
Yeah, well, we all know what that means, Jim. Oh, you stupid thing. I hate ads.
Hey, it's for Google Maps, though. I'm down with it.
Good boy never looked so good.
We all know how it goes, Jim.
Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit.
Have a great rest of your weekend, everybody.
Good night, everybody. We'll see you next week.